Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part 5.
Talk a little bit about how you like to direct.
Oh, that's my favorite part. That's like
All right.
that's the part that comes naturally. I think, it comes really naturally to me because I did improv for so long and I did live theater for so long. So I think have I have so much respect for actors because I'm not necessarily like I'm not a trained actor. I've acted in a few things, but I know the difference between me and a trained actor, and I have so much respect for the amount of work they put in. And there's tons of directors that have said this before, but you can have the red camera and the beautiful lighting setup and the best cinematographer in the world, and if you call action and there's not a good performance, everyone feels like their time was wasted, like everyone. And on the flip side of that, when you have an actor that really knows how to have a good attitude on set and how to show up really prepared and how to take notes really quickly, it really inspires. You can watch all the grips and ACs and everything will work faster and more passionately as soon as they see that the actors are good.
Yeah.
um, and I think, I like to experiment. Since I'm like such a new filmmaker, I try to experiment differently every film with how I'm prepping. Like the when I did Bottom Shelf Wine Connoisseurs, I remember my two leads, Fernando and Sophia, I had them over to my apartment and we did like a table read in my apartment. I gave them a few notes and that was about it. Then the second time I directed, I decided that I wanted to get on location for the table read. But I really wanted the actors to be able to feel out the space and
Mm.
feel out where the camera was going to be, because I think it's kind of like um a part that gets looked over with directing the actors is like if you put them in the location beforehand and you tell them where the camera is going to be beforehand, they can really do such better preparation.
Yeah.
And if they know it's going to be a really tight close up, they're going to prepare so differently than if it were a wide shot. And I
Yeah.
think the like most cruel thing you could do for an actor is like have them prepping like it's going to be a wide shot and then you're only tight in on their
Yeah.
eye
Oh,
or
we're
something,
going on your eye.
Yeah. So I really like to give the actors as much of the shooting plan and the camera plans and the location context. I like to give them all that context beforehand so they can use it while they prepare. Um,
Yeah.
and I've worked with sets that were all improv comedians and were not trained actors. And then I've worked on sets that were trained actors. And I mean, it's always such a blessing to work with a trained actor. They come with this level of preparation that really makes your job so easy as a director. But on the flip side, working with improv comedians is also great too, because they're able to really take these notes and flip their performance on a dime in a
Yeah.
way that not necessarily every actor can do. Um, so I love to I think like so much of directing is failing forward. And I think like my favorite thing to do with actors is every production I'm trying to think of, okay, what haven't I thought of with preparing these actors or working with these actors? What could I try differently this time? Um, and I also think it's so this is so fun for me because I am a host and a comedian and I do live comedy. So I'm always thinking about the way that you say things, like completely changes the meaning of them, the specific words that you use. Like if I'm going to give an actor an adjective, like, oh, can you say this with despair? Can you say this with excitement or whatever? The adjective that I use, I'm going to be like really, really, really intentional about it, because just those tiny words that you use with actors when you give them notes between takes, that's all they have to go off of. So they're really latching on to the specific words you use. So you have to be really intentional with the way that you're communicating to them. And you can't say, I want you to look like you're awe-inspired when I really want you to look delighted, because those are two completely different performances for an actor.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really fun for me to give notes between takes to the actors because I think it's what comes the most naturally to me, like being kind of a theater kid and growing up on comedy. I feel much more in tune with the way that the actors are thinking than the way that the
Mm,
cinematographers are thinking because that's something that I've had to teach myself over the last couple of years is cinematography. Whereas like it just feels like such a natural symbiosis for me to work with actors. And it's also it's another piece on set where I just watch the things that they're able to do and the choices that they make, and I'm like and, I'm usually a writer director, so I've usually written the words, and I've had so many moments where I was like, "Okay, I wasn't even hearing the delivery that way, but I love the way that you interpreted
yeah,
that," with your own life experience, um and I do think the other thing too is, you we were talking earlier about how you would use chat gpt to give you a tongue twister when you can't say the
yeah,
line correctly, but I think the other thing too is being really open to how does it come naturally out of the actor's mouth, like if it's a couple words different than what you wrote down on the script but it feels natural to the
yeah,
actor. I always think that's like a conceit worth making because
yeah,
and that also comes from stand-up comedy, I think too, like I cannot tell the same joke that my colleague could tell because we don't look the same, we don't have the same
yeah,
voice, we don't have the same cadence, and so I think casting is so important because once you've gotten past casting your actors, it's really about trusting them with the work that you've given them, and it's really about trusting them to make choices that feel natural to the character they're embodying. And
yeah.
it's one of the most satisfying things for me on set when I've written something down and I watch an actor deliver it in a way that I did not imagine, but it just sounds so much better than I could have ever fathomed.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, as an actor, I like to be as relaxed as I possibly can be. The more relaxed I can
Mhm.
be, the more I can just go into any other place, because when you're
Mhm.
relaxed, that's when you're gonna cry. That's when your natural emotion is just gonna come. So for
Mm.
me, it's always been about that. And then knowing the words. I'm kind of a stickler for the words, like whatever you've written, I try to get that down. But I'm also somebody that can if you want me to improv it, I can improv it too. I can do both. I make it so that I
Yeah.
can do both. Because one of the ways that I'll learn the lines is this is kind of more British style training, but like I'll say the line, then I'll say the line with a different indentation, of there. So
Mm.
it's like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I like you. I like you. I like
Mhm.
you, so I'm
Mhm.
saying it there. Then I'll say like a different voice or whatever. I've been watching The
Mhm.
Penguin for a while, for a little bit, so now so I've like I'll do I'll do Colin Farrell's voice, like, I like you. I like you. I like, do it, just doing it, over and over
Yeah.
again to get it in there. Because I went through a period where I would learn lines, through note cards, doing the thing that I found was just what Bill Nye said, just say it 18 times, move on to the next line, go back, say it. And that's
Mhm.
that's what I've been doing, and it's just been giving me such freedom. But for me, it's just about, so like if you've written it a certain way, I will, try and get it. And if I can't say it, I'll go to, a tongue twister and be like, there's something here about it so that it feels as comfortable in my mouth, so
Mhm.
because you just want it to go, because the best place for the actor to be is in that place where I don't know if the lines are going to come out. It's like
Mhm.
Pavarotti said, I don't know if I can sing that high note. If I get to this time frame of like where I don't know where it's going to go, that's like the best place, because then it's just going to be natural, because when you talk to other people, you're not thinking about, that's the thing, knowing the lines and saying that you know the lines, but then being able to perceive and act as if you don't know the lines. It
Mhm.
comes into the real art of it. Is trying to just find it so that it just rolls off your mouth, so that you can already be doing it. It doesn't really matter what I'm saying. It's very set into the Meisner. But all I was adding is that,
Mhm.
I like
Mhm.
I like your approach that you're doing, and I like the fact that your set is relaxed. And it's true, when the actor starts, ramping it up and starts doing a good job, it brings everything up, because it's just like it's going to set the
Totally.
tempo. Because if this isn't
Totally.
good, then it's like, what do we have? We just have a pretty picture.
Right. And the performance can really take you out of it, no matter how pretty it is, no matter how
Yeah,
good it sounds. Like the
yeah.
performance is so key to being able to like get into that flow state. So
Yeah.
I and the
I
other
love you
thing
said flow
too,
state.
yeah. And the other thing
Yeah.
too about I think that directors, I had to learn as a director to keep in mind with the actors, and this is something I learned from acting on other people's sets, is as an
Mm,
actor, in many cases, you're just sitting there watching as the camera team is setting things up, as the lighting team is setting things up. And most actors are really empathetic people. So they're really taking on the energy and the emotion of the people that are around them. And so
yeah,
if you
it is.
have this really high temperature, high intensity set, where you're yelling at people and everyone's mad at each other, I don't care like how amazing of an actor you are, you're going to like take in that energy and you're going to
Yeah,
feel that tension. And like exactly what you're saying, I think the best acting comes from the actors being able to be
yeah,
relaxed. And so I think, it all is like this symbiotic thing that you really have to keep in mind. You might think that you're having like a little quarrel with your DP off to the side and no one knows,
yeah.
but
But
the
it's
the
felt.
actors,
It's all. Everybody feels it.
they can feel it for sure, for sure.
Was Vanya on 42nd Street, or is it 34th Street? That's Julianne Moore did that play. They were doing Uncle Vanya, and the cool thing about that play is they would do it, and it would be different every single night. They would just allow it to be whatever. And what it taught Julianne Moore, she said, is to create the circumstances for those like things to happen, so that she
Mm,
would, instead of trying to allow allow the space to have those things. I think that the biggest
yeah,
lesson an actor or any performer is just allowing things to happen. You know
totally.
it's
Yeah.
that space. I think if we're all working in the same thing. But you brought up such a good point. What was her name? The girl who played Maxine, she talked about something like that. She
Oh,
said,
yeah, Mia Goth.
Mia Goth, she talked about, she said sometimes though that the set being crazy can actually help her. She felt like
That
it can
makes
be,
sense. If you're doing a horror film, I could see where
yeah.
some of those sets are helpful.
Like was it Oliver Stone talked about how, he wasn't impressed. He I don't know, he was playing mind games with Michael Douglas when he was doing Wall Street. He said he comes up to him in the train. He says, "Hi, wait, you doing okay? Everything's good." It's like, "Yeah, it's good." He's like, "Well, why are you acting like this is the first time you ever acted?" And he just was on him, and it propelled
Mhm.
him to be up to there. It's funny if you watch like the behind the scenes there. After he does a scene, he looks over at like Charlie Sheen's character, who like is supposed to be in awe of Gordon Gekko, and he says, "Was that good?"
Mm,
So it's such a change of that. But sometimes you get
mhm.
directors like that. Like you've got what was it, Stanley Kubrick? We had Vincent D'Onofrio talk to us at Strasbourg. He told us, this one actor kept messing up his lines. Stanley didn't go up and tell him that he's messing up the line. He just kept saying the number of the take. So it'll be like, "This is take 30, take 40." I mean,
Oh
which
my
is horrible
god.
for an actor, but like he was like the king of like manipulators. You get some of those directors who are so used to like working with like,
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.